Hey beauty, it's Risa coming to you live on Friday for some heart-to-heart conversation. I'm outside in my backyard here in Connecticut. It's a beautiful sunny fall day. And I'm thinking about all of you today, and I'm thinking about those of you who I've been talking to lately who are really struggling with how to make an empowered choice. You're at that place where maybe there's been some discussion about divorce or leaving your relationship, and you've just been kind of going back and forth, and you're kind of in that place where you're just really not clear. And so I want to give you some tips today on how do you get to that place of real clarity, and how do you make what I would call a really clear, empowered choice that's aligned with your truth. And so I was very clear about that. When I left my marriage, I did not want it to be out of a reaction to anything that my partner was doing. And that's really the first thing to think about is that, if I'm just reacting to someone else's behavior and I'm making a decision out of an emotional reaction, out of anger, out of frustration, and I know it builds up over time for sure, but I could have left a million times if I let that rule my decision. But I didn't want, that didn't feel good to me to just be doing it out of a reaction, because to me that felt like I was giving away my power, you know. Type in, by the way, say hi if you're here, if you're on the recording, if you can relate to this at all. I wanted that to come from me, from a clear, aligned place within myself. I didn't want it to be out of a reaction. Do you see how that just didn't feel good to me? I felt like I was just really giving away my power, because then the ball's in their court. And then what happens? This is what I see a lot of times. Then what happens? We make a choice based on how someone else is showing up, and we don't like it, and we make a choice to leave. But then what happens? They change. They start to show up differently. We start to doubt ourselves. We start to second guess, maybe have regrets. So I don't want that for you. So this is just something to think about today, is what are some good criteria for decision making and making an empowered choice? So that's number one, is just not making a choice. It's a big choice. We don't want to do it just out of a reaction to someone else's behavior. And the other things that you want to consider are, we don't want to make a choice out of what I call a fog, F-O-G, out of fear, out of obligation, or out of guilt. And I know that's where most of us get hung up, is because there's so much fear about either, we talked about last week about asking yourself, what's my motivation for staying, or what's my motivation for leaving? Now we're talking about that sort of this week. What's my motivation for leaving? We don't want it to be out of a reaction, but yeah, it just, of course, brings up a lot of fear. And we don't want to, just stay out of obligation, and we don't want to stay out of a sense of guilt. And I know those are all big things that I do help my clients with, but I would really encourage you to just examine before you make any decisions. It's where is that coming from? Is that coming from a place of feeling empowered within yourself and clear within yourself? Or am I just reacting to someone else's behavior? And those are really the skill, those are life skills, because most of us, we're just in reaction to everything everybody else is doing, because we haven't been taught. I'm fortunate enough with the training that I've had as transformational life coach to have the tools I need, so that I don't need to be just reacting to what everybody else is doing. I can, we all have our stuff, we all have our patterns that are running. And so it really, this is the deeper work, is looking at, sort of our attachment styles, or our need for love, our need for approval, or that's what keeps us kind of sort of at the mercy. Our emotional well-being becomes dependent on how other people are behaving, and it doesn't need to be that way. We can get the tools we need to learn how to not be in reaction, to be able to be in a good, loving relationship with ourselves, be willing to look at, oh, okay, what is it in me that's getting triggered right now, and have some tools to be able to process and release any unhealthy patterns of relating. That's the deeper work that I love to do with my clients. But for y'all, for today, just to know before you make any big decisions, let's be willing to sort of look at our own side of the street, and like, where's my decision coming from? Am I just reacting to something my partner's doing? Is it out of anger, resentment, frustration? That might not be such a good criteria. Let's look at what is it in us that's getting triggered, and really come from that empowered place within ourselves. Does that make sense? You guys type in, say tell me if this is landing with you. And then not out of a fog. That's not a good criteria. It's perfectly understandable why that would come up, but that's not our criteria that we want to use. Fear, obligation, or guilt are not good criteria for basing big decisions on, if you want to be able to move ahead and be happy in your life. All right, darlings, I hope this was helpful for you today. Drop in a comment, and if you have any questions, I'll be looking for those. And if you want some more support, I don't have any time slots open now for a little bit for the complimentary sessions, but you know what? Private message me, and if you want more support, we can talk and maybe see how I might be able to support you further. All right, have a wonderful rest of your day. Lots of love, and we'll see you soon. Mwah. Bye for now.